Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Marvin Smith. I'm coming to you live today, um, from my office. So the title is Tax Season 2023. Um, One thing that I talked about earlier, and this is gonna be like maybe like a 15 to 20 minute live, depending on, especially when I get going. Sometimes it's gonna be longer than that. So what I want to talk about is I spoke about on many videos that I've made. Um, money principles, money rejection, uh, complex money rejection, um, videos on the mindset. So it says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So what does that mean? As a man think and pond, as a man think and ponder on his moves. As a man thinketh, as is how he see himself in the world and how he moves in the world. So the way you move in the world is based on the way how you think about yourself and others that you come in encounter with. So I want to talk about one thing I talked about was in one of my videos. I talked about growing up as children, our parents never told us about credit, taxes, and finances. So as you well know, I've been in the field of accounting and bookkeeping for almost 27 years. I've been doing taxes for like 12 years, but I'm really fully invested into taxes this year. So I've been blessed, have my own office, but the main thing is now I've been chosen by and I'm partnered up with Intuit and many of you that do your tax returns through TurboTax. So now I'm an Intuit Verified Pro. So when you go schedule an appointment on Intuit, which is TurboTax, you might schedule with me. And I'll be able to interview you and walk you through the process, ask you questions to get a better idea of what your filing status is. What is a filing status? You're either single with no dependents, which is children, or taking care, stepchildren, foster children, brother and sister, cousins and niece, your mother, your father, your grandparents. So those are called dependents outside of your children, and the other dependent would be your children. Um, so that can be single with no dependents, single with dependents. You either can file head of household with a qualified dependent. Um, then there's married filing joint and married filing separate and qualified surviving spouse. That means, let's say, for example, either your husband or your wife died, so you're the qualified surviving spouse, the one that's living. So those are the few filing statuses that you will fall under. So when I talked about how many people are not educated when it comes to credit and finances and taxes, and especially taxes, I'm baffled and I'm confused. But somewhat is true. When the Lord said in Hosea 4 and 6, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. What are they lacking? Not the knowledge. They're lacking seeking the information to get the knowledge. And those that's not seeking the information and not getting the knowledge will reject the knowledge. Meaning that what? As you reject knowledge, the information is going to reject you. And then what? And I'm not talking about my people. I'm talking about this is universal principle law. Anyone that is destroyed for the lack of knowledge is not because of the knowledge, they're not seeking the information. And many people get their information from what they think, as a man thinketh, what someone else's think. They get it from the media, they get it from their celebrities, they get it from social media. So, growing up as children, our parents never taught us about taxes, credit, and finances. You didn't learn about it in church. You know about public, middle, and high school, even college. So now the title of this live stream or podcast is Tax Season 2023. And one of the main things that I've seen since people come in to get their tax returns done, I had one client where she went on TurboTax and she did her tax return. However, it said that she will owe 4,500, 4,500. So she was crying and everything like that. So she actually is the secretary of our building. And she said to me, Marvin, she started crying. So I said, what's wrong with you? So she said that I went on TurboTax and they said I owe 4,500. So I said to her, let me see your W 2. Why did I want to see her W 2? Because that would tell me something. She owed federal taxes. So when you go to box number 2 on your W 2, it's the federal withholdings. So box number 2 is going to be the federal income tax withheld. Again, box 2 is going to be the federal income tax withheld. What does it mean to withheld? When you withhold something, you're going to disperse it. Box 1 on the W 2 is wages, tips, and other compensation. And you get your W 2 from where? Your job. And before you get your W 2 in any job you start, they give you what you call a W 4. And a lot of people do not know how to fill out the W 4 correctly. And then what will happen is they will have not they won't have the correct amount withheld from their check. So with her, when I looked on box 2, what is box 2 again? Federal income tax withheld. That box was 0. So that meant that what? Every time they process payroll on a bi-weekly basis, what is bi-weekly? Getting paid every 2 weeks. There was no federal tax withheld from her paycheck. Why? Because back 30 or 40 years ago, and any of you out there in my age range or older understand will understand what I'm talking about. Back 30 or 40 years ago, you had the human resource department, HR, where you had an actual department of workers that made up the human resource department. And they will give you your W 4, your I-9, they will have your resume, and they will give you your W 4, you will fill it out, or I-9, your I-9 if you're from another country. And they will collect all this information and they will input it in the system. That what HR was their responsibility. Then it will go to either the payroll administrator or payroll department that was in house, or if you outsource the payroll, you outsource it to either ADP during that time or paychecks. Because I'm just mentioning those two because those two are the biggest ones and they're still around to this day. So if there was any changes throughout the year, let's say for example, you was married, you just got married in that tax year, 2023. So now you will go to Human Resource Department 30, 40 years ago and let them know, okay, my filing status has changed from single, either single or head of household, to now I'm married. So now they will give you another W-4. You will fill that out. You will let HR know for a couple of reasons. Not only for payroll, let's say for health insurance, and your husband or wife didn't have health insurance, so now you add them on to the policy. That's another reason why. So back there during that time, before during you had a physical HR department. So when the year 2020 came, the W-4s was actually changed. They didn't look like the prior W-4s from 2019 beyond, going back. The new 2020 W-4 came along and it was introduced. And as it was introduced, many people don't know how to fill it out. and hold that thought for a second. Many people don't know how to fill out this new W 4, which is right here. This is the new W 4, where it says on box one, enter your personal information. And I'm going to go back to that story because that story corresponds to what I'm about to get to. Then you have box step number two, which was multiple jobs or spouse or work. Then on step number three, you have claim dependent and other credits. Step number four is optional, and I'll read it. On step number four, questionnaire A, other income not from jobs. So what does it mean, other income not from jobs? A lot of you do contractor work. So anyone that does contracting work, whether it be consultant, you're a consultant, an attorney, a tax professional, you're a bookkeeper, um, you might do management consultant, real estate consultant, and someone pays you over $600 for those who are contracted consultant, you will get out of one or two 1099s. For those who are professional, like certain contractors, you would get what they call a 1099 NEC, which stands for non-employee compensation. Those who have Airbnb, short rentals, properties, you're going to get a 1099 miscellaneous. Why? For the rent that you collect, you're going to get a 1099 if you have from an Airbnb. Let's say, for example, you have a rental company that's in charge of taking the rents for you on your behalf. Then they're going to send you a 1099 miscellaneous, which you're going to report that on your tax return. So now, what is other income? Self-employment income. If you own a business, what other income? A lot of you withdraw from your retirement account early for different situations. So if you under the age of 59 years old, that's an early distribution. Even if it's for emergency or whatever, you're gonna have to pay taxes on that. Um, there's Social Security income that you might have. There's pensions and annuities income. There's unemployment income. There's income from interest that you receive if you have a savings account or a checking account that accrue interest and they give you a 1099 INT. You have to report that income on your taxes. A lot of you have brokerage accounts, stocks and bonds, which are called dividends. Then, then you'll get from your brokerage account, from let's say from Fidelity or Principal Financial, they're gonna send you a 1099B or a 1099 DIV. DIV stand for dividends. B stand for barter. So you're gonna get a. These are the other incomes. Then the other part says deductions. Step five is where you sign. So what happened was, as she filled this out, remember HR today is more. You don't have an HR department nowadays. Everything is done through a payroll portal, right? So as she filled this W-4 out, let's say for 2023, this is 2024. Normally, if you're single with no dependents, you're gonna do step one. You're gonna fill out step one. You're gonna leave blank step two. You're gonna leave blank if you don't have children or children. Leave that blank. What's gonna happen is if you put down, let's say you have two children, and in box number three, it says $2,000 for each child under 17, and you have two children. That's gonna be 4,000. What's gonna happen is they're gonna advance that money to you early. Where back in the day, back some people would be where they wouldn't take the credit now. They would take the credit when they file their tax return. Why? Because earned income credit, child tax credit, American Opportunity Tax Credit, and premium tax credit. These are called refundable credits. So if you have a refund of 1,000 and you get these refundable credits, it's going to increase your refund. So you're going to leave that zero. Why? Because when you put zero, you want to make sure they take out the right amount of taxes. So you're going to bring home not, I'm going to say less. Some people will claim their dependents to bring home more money now, but they're going to pay for it later when they file their tax return because they didn't have what, enough federal taxes withheld, and they're not going to have enough state taxes withheld in box number 16. So you're going to end up paying. You're going to end up paying. Uh, so you're going to end up paying if you don't understand how everything works. So what happened was she filled this out wrong, and they had a and in her payroll portal, she was unable to go in there and modify, update, and make the changes at the time. So when I saw her crying, I got involved. Um, and by getting involved, I was able to analyze, assess the situation, and understood what happened and came up with a solution. What happened was on box number two on her W 2, it says, I'm gonna read it. Box number two said federal income tax withheld. There was nothing there. It was zero, meaning that what she paid zero, she had zero federal taxes withheld from her paycheck. This is the reason why she had owed the 4,500 because her W-4. Make sure that's filled out properly, and every time you get paid, you should be looking at your pay stubs. See, the pay stubs back 30 or 40 years ago, you would see the pay stubs with your actual check, or even if you got direct deposit. Nowadays, everything is online in a payroll portal. So when people go on their phone and log in through their bank app, only thing they're concerned about is that check being there every week or every 2 weeks. They're not looking at you're not looking at your pay stubs, and then you're getting angry and you're walking around angry at everybody. So it was her fault. But then I pointed out, and I was able to do the tax return, fix it, and then set up a payment plan with the IRS. The form 9565, which is the installment agreement, I was able to set up a payment plan. Um, it wasn't what she wanted to hear, but the truth of the matter is, she's not the only one that have come in my office or have come across where many of the clients, they're not filling out these W-4s correctly. And when I look at their W-2, that's not correct. And it's their fault also because nowadays there's what they call payroll portals. You don't have really a lot of human resource departments on site. So a lot of human resources being outsourced, or the responsibility falls on you, the employee. So I'm gonna give you another scenario. Last 1 year I had a client that came in my office. They had moved from New York to Florida. However, when she got a W two, there was the Florida, you don't pay state taxes, but they were still taking out New York state taxes. She didn't she didn't inform HR to give her a new W-4 with the updated information. Now you get this document to HR. They're not now they're not going to withhold any New York state taxes because she's not a resident of New York no more. She's a resident of Florida. So when I looked at her W two, I said, oh, here's the problem. They still was taking out New York state taxes, yet you moved to Florida. And she moved to Florida at the beginning of 2022. So 2021, she lived in New York, but then she moved in 2022 to Florida, but she never reached out to HR to fill out a new W-4 so that they can update her information. So these things are very important to when it comes to filing your taxes. Just these little things, these fundamentals can be a big impact on if you're going to get a refund or if you're going to owe. And back in 2020, they lowered the withholding rate, so many Americans brought home more money on their paycheck, but so did tax refunds. smaller, reduced, or they owe. Your refund became smaller, yet your take home pay during the year was more, but your refund when you filed at the end of the year became smaller. If you don't believe me, check out your tax take out your tax returns from 21 on to now, and those that work a long time, look at the prior years. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, and 10. Look at those for those that have been working for a long time. You're going to know that your refund prior to 2019 going down backwards up to 2000, from 2010 2019, it was more. You look at it now, as of 2020, your refund is becoming smaller and smaller, and you're owing more and more on your taxes. So I wanted to talk about that, and that's very important. Um, but the main thing I also want to discuss, because I have a conference coming up. What I want to talk about also is it's a lack of education. Um, a lot of you walking around, you believe in everything what the media says, and you do no research. So if you're not doing any research, you're like the sheep that's led to the slaughter. The sheep is a very gullible animal. And what is the slaughter? The slaughter comes from my people were destroyed for the lack of knowledge. There's a lot of scams out here, credit card scams, real estate scams, and a lot of the poor are being preyed upon. 'Cause a lot of you looking for a quick, rich, get rich quick scheme. You're taking a shortcut. You're watching these celebrities, not understanding that what you see and what they went through is two different things. You don't know what a man and woman got to go through to get to where they got to go. You're looking at the glitz and glamour. You're looking at the mansions. You're looking at the Rolls Royces and the Rolex watches. A lot of that stuff is financed and loaned to them. You don't even know that. When a record company advance you money, that's a loan. You have to pay that back for your record sales and everything. Go watch the TLC documentary. They give a great breakdown of the music industry. So, as I mentioned before, if you want your taxes done properly and you want the right guidance, given the right information, reach out to me, Marvin Smith, at Smith Bookkeeping Financial Services LLC. My website is www.sbfsllc.com. If you want a consultation, reach out to me at 215-745-2713. And if you want to email me at info at sbfsllc.com. My social media is Facebook / Smith Bookkeeping Financial Services. Not only go there, but follow me. Because one of my things is that there's no excuse for why you don't know. There's no excuse. It has nothing to do with being black. A lot of you walk around with this notion of the reason why I don't have is because systematic racism. I'm not saying it don't exist, but don't let that be an excuse for why you can't have. Don't let that be an excuse because the world that we live in today, you could create a YouTube channel. You could go live what I'm doing. You could go live on Facebook and TikTok. You can use social media to create what? Wealth, notoriety, income. You could create a business off social media. So there's no excuse why you don't have. So the Lord said that what? My people were destroyed for the lack of knowledge. It's not the knowledge, it's the information that you're not seeking because you reject it. If you don't like somebody, you're going to reject the knowledge because you're in your emotions. See, a lot of you don't like Donald Trump, and I'm going to mention that name. I read his book. I don't take it personal. I look at the man for his action. And I read his book. He made great points. I read so many books. And life has also given me an education. I always say that life is a classroom. We all must pay tuition. Again, reach out to me. Follow me on my social media. Smith Bookkeeping Financial Services at Facebook. You can follow me on LinkedIn. You can go to my website. My website, which I consider like a university. There's a lot of There's a lot of education on my website. There's a lot of financial calculators, like a mortgage calculator, a W-2 calculator. If you're going to finance a car, calculator. So there's a lot of education on my site. My website is a reflection of who I am. I have also other videos on YouTube you can find. Um, Marvin Smith interview with Raymond Ruben Ramos, which I did back in 2012 when I had my dreadlocks. Or Rastaman. So that's one video. I spoke at a conference in Florida. I don't talk about a lot of these things. I keep a lot of things to myself. Um, but as I said, that the most important thing is understanding how everything works. You should take taxes serious, and it's mind-boggling. This is something that's being taken out of your check. See, the difference between me and you is I get to make the money, I get to spend the money, and I pay the taxes later. You make the money, taxes are taken out, and then you spend what's left over. I get to take all these deductions. You can't. So what I mean is that what? I will elaborate on that earlier. That's one of the good things about owning a business, but I want to talk about many people go in business for the wrong reasons. Many people go in business because they idolize somebody. Many people go into business because they hate their job. The very thing that you hate will be the very thing that rejects you. Don't go in there with that mindset. That's not a mind of prosperity. That's not a mind of success. That's an adversary mind. If you don't like something, you change it and you move on and find something else. But when you walk around with this mentality, as a man thinketh, so is he. You put these thoughts out into the universe, and your thoughts shall become words. Words shall become flesh. This I'm not a religious man. I'm a spiritual man. I'm free to walk in the spirit of God. I, my Father, is one. I am not restricted or bound by religion. I can learn other things about other religions, but not attach myself to their lifestyle because I am free. Yet I live and I am subject unto the law. And I have also created laws for myself as a man that I should walk around in my own space. And when I'm outside my space, I have to respect the laws of the land. I don't walk around here as a man that's a rebel. I walk around here as a man with wisdom. Do I use it all the time? Yeah, I use it, but not all the time because I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. I get mad. I get angry. I hate all those things because all those things I am from the Creator. God has no personality except for in me and as me. I am the representation. So I say to everyone, health, happiness, prosperity, success, and the abundance of all things. Blessings to you all. But remember, reach out to me at Smith Bookkeeping Financial Services LLC. Phone number is 215-745-2713. You can go to my website, www.sbfsllc.com. You can also book a consultation with me. You can talk about taxes. You can talk about uh, forming an LLC, forming an S corp, forming a corporation. I'm also talk about credit education. That's important. I'll be making videos about that, which I already have. We can talk about credit education, how important that is, and the reason why you getting denied. I don't do credit repair. I do. You need to be educated first. When you're educated, then you know how to repair something. Don't lie. You do the opposite. You're going to credit repair, but you're not educating yourself on the reason why you got yourself in that predicament. You want to educate yourself because the bad credit didn't happen overnight. Bad credit came from bad habits. Bad credit came from lack of knowledge. I was once that person and I had to learn. So I say to each and every one of you, peace and blessings, and watch as well as pray. That's for anybody. That's universal law, right? Right there. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.